Kol omer krav amar ma'ekra, kol habasar chatzir, v'chol chasto ketzitz hasadeh, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo. A voice says, cry out, but I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass. All of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers and the flower fades when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. LeDavid mizmor l'Adonai ha'aretz umloa, tevel v'yoshveva, ki hu al yamim yesada, v'al nahorot yichonaneha. The earth is the Lord's with all of its fullness. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in the holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart. He will receive a blessing from the Lord and a just reward from the God of deliverance. You had mentioned that your husband, your father, your grandfather had a good fashion sense. He knew about trends in fashion and styles, a good sense of style. You know, usually when we talk about fashion, we talk about style, we usually are talking about the outside appearance of things, how things look on the outside. The product, the color, the design, the outside. Paul had a good sense of style not only on the outside but on the inside. That was his true style. Honesty was his style. Integrity was his style. Insight was his style. And gentleness was his style. I really have such strong memories of him from the 2 bar mitzvahs of the boys, and attending services, and his warmth, and his easy smile. It really shows you that true warmth doesn't have to be from the noisiest person in the room. Warmth is communicated in the way you conduct yourself, the manner, the way that he conducted himself was an example to everyone. It was his way and his tone, his modulation. Carolyn, you met him and saw right away that he was very easy to be with. He always wanted people to be happy around him. You two met in an executive training program at Higbee's. You felt his kindness, and you began a conversation that day that never ended. And you've continued that conversation all of these years. You two worked together, you lived together, you played together, you had lunch together. Didn't you ever get sick of each other? You don't know how many people tell me that the secret to their marriage is the moment where she says or he says, bye, honey, have a good day, we'll see you at the end of the day. That's the secret. But not with you two. One would think you'd have enough of each other, but you made it a regular part of your day to eat together, to have lunch together. And I understand you rarely had lunch unless he was involved, which means it wasn't really the lunch. It was Paul. And I heard it from everyone, Carolyn and Paul, Paul and Carolyn, Carolyn and Paul, Paul and Carolyn. For your kids and your grandkids and your friends, there was not one without the other. A consistent and true and devoted partnership, everlasting. I mean, even Lennon and McCartney broke up, you know? Kanye and Kim, never mind. But Carolyn and Paul forever. You two had confidence in each other as parents as well as partners in business. I know after moving to New York and Paul took a significant job there, you came back to Cleveland and started your company. And Paul was so successful at assessing and predicting trends in the market and the decorative areas. You loved and always appreciated his ideas. You two had ideas at times that were very progressive, very forward-looking, kind of foreshadowing pop-up stores that would become the rage. You were ahead of your time on many levels. Very much a team. And of course, you and Paul together. Paul helped to adapt to the changing markets later in the 80s. You were always his partner and his confidant, his friend, his ally. And I know according to his brother, Michael, you made Paul an even better person just by being with him and living with him. You know, as we spoke about him, there were a lot of laughs. You folks shared many laughs. A lot of smiles, remembering the moments that shaped you all as people. Because the memories are good. they're good, and they're loving. You know, so much of what happens in the home as kids are growing up, the things that happen when kids are growing up leave an indelible mark on the souls of those children. And you too proudly wear those marks. Because your parents didn't raise you to be good kids, they raised you to be good adults. Your dad was fun, he would take you to the JCC, and he participated with you. He wasn't the chauffeur, he was a participant. And you all worked in the store. He taught you fun, he taught you responsibility. You learned the concept of a team and of loyalty and of responsibility. And you didn't learn it off of a blackboard. You didn't learn it with somebody standing at the front of the room. You learned it in real time, in real life, with a living role model, which was your father. Dara and Alyssa, I know you felt so embraced by this family, so brought in, loved, brought close. Dara, you feel you were virtually raised by this family. And Alyssa, I know you saw, and your family saw, that Paul was as decent a man as was going to come in this earth. And all of you see the relationship of Paul and Carolyn as the ideal. The word for the life of this family is together. Dinners together, family together at the business, or at sporting events, or school activities for the kids. Generations together in this family, working hard and learning together and growing together. When Paul wanted to reconnect with his Judaism and attend services, he reached out to a different generation, to Ethan, and you attended together. Generations coming together. If any of you needed advice, you knew you could reach across the generations and talk to your dad. There was no generation gap here. He had been close to his parents who had come here from Winnipeg, Canada. He always thought of family. He ultimately took care of his brother, as he promised his father, when his brother became vulnerable. And Paul always loved telling and remembering stories of his family and loved hearing about stories of the old country. And he derived great joy in being an active grandparent to his grandkids. I want you to know, I watch a lot of movies, and we all read the news stories. And you know, a lot of times the bad guys win, not the good guys. That's the problem. In real life, the good guys don't always prevail. Paul was a good guy. And I feel that today we celebrate a good guy who won. He won. And he did. He was respected across the country and in countries around the globe. It feels good to know that the integrity and the decency of a single man is appreciated and held up as a standard for so many people in so many places. He was a visionary. He was on the one hand a brilliant man, but he was a man who had respect for every individual. He put on no airs and related to everyone. And he was a huge influence on many people. You know, I heard a couple times, I have to take issue, well, he wasn't really a religious man. You know, some of the most religious people I know are the people who are described as not religious. Paul was honest. He was straightforward. He was kind. He was devoted to his family. And he taught ethics in everything he did. Sounds to me like a religious man. I'm going to call him a religious man. I know he gave advice. Never talk unless you know the numbers, right? That was his advice. Don't say anything unless you know that, meaning don't assert an opinion unless you have proof and you have evidence. Well, I'm going to assert an opinion because I have proof. Paul Bloch was truly a magnetic and charming human being. I have proof. Paul Bloch was a gracious human being who had an honesty and a decency that will always be testimony to the fact that good guys can also win. He lived with a good name, and he died with a good name. I want to call on a few speakers from the family, Todd and Alyssa. You can adjust. And you can adjust the microphone.
Take my mask down. So my dad and mom used to say, you know, to the kids when they were little, you know, get your wiggles out before you're going to concentrate or, you know, go on an airplane for 3 hours. So I feel like I've been getting my wiggles out before the speech, just, based on the difficultness of it. Hello, everyone. I'm Todd Bloch, Paul's youngest son, and I want to thank everyone for celebrating my dad's special life, especially those traveling from afar, and to my Zoom people.
Wiggles out.
What's up with you? I'm pretty sure my dad would have loved to see everyone here today because he definitely enjoyed a good party. As I struggled for my words today, it made me think of the meaning of one's name and the letters that make up a life and how impactful they can be. Paul. P. Pride. My dad was so proud of his family and friends. Seeing his grandson attend the same college and become a Buckeye. Proud to see his grandson start on the varsity football team and lead the baseball team at his own high school, Shaker. Proud of his daughter-in-law for finally giving him girls. He owes us $10,000 for that. Proud of his wife's strength from recovering from massive heart surgery, and proud to see his best friend become such a successful businessman who he adored. He was proud to see my brother, raise such an amazing family, just like him. A, affection, demonstrating love and kindness, traveling to every single sporting event, marathon, birthday celebration for his kids, his grandkids, no matter how far or how wide. For example, driving from Cleveland to Boston just last year in a snowstorm during COVID to celebrate my birthday. Yeah. It's a long drive. Helping my mother recover from surgery and a recent bout with COVID, and sitting by my uncle's side for 3 long years dealing with debilitating health issues. You, unbreakable. In 1967, my parents fell deeply in love, or madly in love, and married very quickly. However, they were shunned by my grandparents for dating outside their religions. He jogged 40 miles a week, obsessed with jogging. But in the early 90s, after having debilitating back surgery, he would never run again. And in 1997, my parents were forced to close and reinvent their business after the big box retailers came into town. He was truly unbreakable and had the passion and grit to overcome anything and everything. L, larger than life, making friends with random strangers anywhere and everywhere he went, always the life of the party. He loved his martinis with friends. Bruce, kind of Bruce.
Not the martinis.
Not the martini part. Les, Stuart, Irwin, and so many more. His smile, stories, and humor lit up the lives of so many. From bank tellers, UPS drivers, admin assistants to CEOs, employees and customers, random airplane passengers, waiters, waitresses, friends, and family alike. He told me, and this is not part of the speech, but he told me during COVID, the restaurant shut down. He went to the restaurants that he would, visit on a regular basis. He walked in. He gave him $200. Swiped the credit card. Don't tell him who it is. Don't tell it was me. $200. Just put it on my card. You're closed. You need the money. Went to 5, 6 different restaurants.
Wanted them there for him when they opened.
Just wanted him there. Or wanted to be there for them. I didn't realize how many lives he touched until we started receiving droves of text messages. Here are just a few examples of ones that we received. I adore him. Paul was beloved, and his smile lit up a room. He was so much fun and such a good friend to me. I will always remember him. He was full of life and unimaginable success, and so many more. At the end of the day, his mission was simple. Life's short. Eat the bread. I love you, Dad. Rest in peace.
We're going to go get our daughter, Ellie, but before I do that, Carolyn asked me to say something, and she had just been talking to Paul very recently, and they had just been so, happy about and feeling blessed, and they said to each other how blessed they were to have found each other and to have built this life together and to have two healthy, wonderful boys who then found their wives and made their families, and they just felt so blessed to have their grandkids and to have health and happiness. And Carolyn just wanted me to share that. Okay. I'm going to step on a little. It's okay. I'm going to start. I'm going to start you. Okay. We'll always remember
that special smile, that caring heart, that warm embrace you always gave us. You being there for Nani and us through good times and bad times, no matter what. We'll always remember you, Papa, because there'll never be another one to replace you in our hearts and the love we will always have for you.
Good job, baby.
Papa said or did a lot of funny little things that we will all remember him by. One of those things that always made me laugh was every time we went out to dinner and I sat next to him, he would lightly punch my shoulder and say, "Pass it on." I never did pass on the little punch, but I don't think Papa expected me to. He just wanted to make me laugh a little bit, and that was Papa. He was so warm and always wanted to make everybody around him smile and laugh. Yesterday, Uncle Bruce told me and Ethan to make Papa proud. I think that Ethan and I can make him proud by passing on those figurative punches. We will pass on his humor, generosity, hard work, and maybe even some of his great fashion sense. Papa taught Ethan and me how to be a great husband, grandfather, father, friend, and above all else, how to be a great man. So, Papa, you won't be sitting next to me anymore, but I'll still be passing it on. Papa, thank you for all the great memories, like watching James Bond movies at Nani Pop's house, or watching the Ohio State vs. Michigan game at the big house. No matter where we were, being with Papa made my day. I have enough awesome memories of Papa to last a lifetime. But I still miss him so much. Papa, I love you and thank you for everything.
There is no other way to describe my relationship with my grandfather other than to say we had a deep and special bond. Often when we were having a good conversation or fun time, he would sigh, give me a look, and say, "We don't get along too well, do we?" It was his joking, special way of telling me that he loved me and he knew how much I loved him. Papa gave me so much during his life, which is unsurprising because he was a very giving and generous man. always taking care of things for other people or making sure no one was worrying about him. We all thought this was funny, but despite our comments, Papa would always insist on stacking the plates at a restaurant after dinner to make it easier on the bussers. And that was Papa. He taught me that being over-generous and over-humble was the norm, should be the norm. I emulate so many things about him. I thought he was the funniest man I ever met. I copy so much of his humor. Now, if anyone asks me if I want any water, I tell them, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Most importantly, I try to emulate his zest for life and how he was able to form the most amazing relationships. He had deep friendships, the most beautiful marriage, was obviously the best father, and just the most perfect grandfather that I could have ever asked for. I'm so proud to have graduated from Shaker Heights like he did, and to now go to Ohio State like him. Everywhere I go in life, I will be thankful because he will be with me, and I will be emulating the absolute model of a man. Thank you, Papa.
I can tell you many things about my father-in-law. I can tell you that he was a devoted and adoring husband to Carolyn and a loving and supportive father to Seth and Todd. I can tell you that in recent years, I was fortunate enough to witness what a gentleman businessman he was. All those things are true, but what I most want to tell you about is Paul as a grandfather. When Ethan was a tiny newborn, Papa would hold him on his shoulder and stare at him and ask us all, will he ever open his eyes? When will he open his eyes? Well, of course he did. And Ethan and Papa became the best of friends. When Flynn was born 3 years later, Papa held him on his shoulder. But this time, he said, as only Papa could, I don't know this one. He doesn't do anything. The other one I know. He does things. As time went on, Flynn did many things, and Papa was there for all of it. Every baseball game, every football game. Next, Ellie and Sarah came along, and Papa was tickled pink. The picture was complete. A recent experience that really sums up Papa's pure devotion to the happiness of his grandchildren happened just a few weeks ago on our vacation to Siesta Key. Seth and I had picked out presents for everyone, and Flinny decided to take a sneak peek preview and didn't like what he saw. He begged me to take him back to pick out what he really wanted, and I said, no way, it's too late, it's too far, I'm not doing it. Well, Flynn wasn't very happy with that, and Papa noticed. And I fessed up and told Papa what happened. And Papa immediately said, come on, Flynn, let's go, I'll take you. So off they went on a vacation adventure that included one perfect new shirt, a delicious shrimp appetizer, and another treasured experience for a grandfather and grandson. Once again, Papa saved the day. Papa always made everything better. He put in the time, attention, and affection with all of his grandchildren. I think being Papa was the role of his lifetime. I am forever grateful to Papa. I loved him dearly. I will miss him every day.
Thank you all for attending today, as well as online around the country. My dad would have truly appreciated it, as his most loved thing was to get together with his friends and family. His friendships were epic. Some of his friendships that he still maintains today started more than 70 years ago. Ronnie Kohlberg, Stan Chernett, Gary Helf are friends from elementary school. Bruce Eisen, Arnie Gans are more than brothers. They're from college 60 years ago. Les Wagenheim is a more recent friend, only 55 years ago. Superman was born in Cleveland. His name was Paul Bloch. Hitting home runs at League Park, where Babe Ruth did as well, driving 20 hours to visit family, or meeting Irwin Frank at Giovanni's for martini the day after a medical procedure. Nothing was too hard for him, as long as it was for his family and friends. He always left it all on the field. Or, this time, he left it all on the court. Once he made his mind up to do something, he was resolute to accomplish it. That first started when he married my mom. It was love at first sight, and nothing would deter him from marrying her, even with initial pushback from family. As the story goes, that he told me, my mom's family had never seen a Jewish person before and expected a Hasidic man to show up at their house with a black hat, long beard, seat, and would expect him to start dating my mom. My dad had great decision-making skills. He didn't go into anything blindly. He was thoughtful about everything he decided to do. In particular, his decision to marry my mom. But then there is more to that story, as he confirmed to me after a few too many. He had been dating my mom for a few months, and he saved up enough money to either marry her and start a new life or make a down payment on a sailboat he had been looking at. That's what he told me. Well, in the past 54 years, the Bloch family has never been anywhere close to sailing a boat in Lake Erie. My parents' love for each other was like something out of a fairy book tale. They did not have permission from their parents, so they snuck off and got eloped. And they were very determined people, as you can easily tell. After they got married, my grandparents threatened to disown my dad and adopt a boy from China, an honest-to-goodness story. So this became a running joke in our immediate family to this day. He would tease us about a mysterious boy in China that could accomplish so much more than Ethan and Flynn or anyone else in our family. Ethan would come back, his last joke he told, Ethan came back and told us he got all A's at Ohio State last semester, and he said, well, what about that little boy in China? I think he got all A+. So after nearly 55 years, my mom and dad are the personification of success in life and marriage. My dad literally gave everything he had to his family and his friends till his dying day. He was a man of his word. Our family story that portrays these attributes best is on my grandfather's dying deathbed. My grandfather told my dad he had the responsibility to take care of my uncle who had no other family. My dad always followed through on this responsibility to take care of my Uncle Mike, who died this past December, exactly 5 weeks ago before my father's own passing. A job well done, Dad. Paul Bloch was obviously a savvy businessman, owning his own company for 50 years. He never sold out. He never was forced into retirement. He died with his boots on, or more accurately, his New Balance tennis shoes. My father had family and friends with him when he died. He knew we were there as we gathered around him in the emergency room as he was passing away. A large IV cart came crashing down in the back of the room with no one near it. It was a sign from him that we will all be together again someday. We'll go for a run. We'll walk around Beechwood Park. Stuart Berkowitz, keep the pace. That was his walking partner. We'll hit some BP. Shag some flies. We'll run some pass routes. We'll play 18 holes. We'll play 5 sets of tennis. We'll drink a martini or 3. Walk Siesta Key Beach and have a great conversation. My dad was a fierce competitor, and he won. He won at the game of life. He might not have been the richest, the most religious, the most political, the most educated, but he was the biggest mensch. The best grandfather, the best husband, best father-in-law, the best dad in the whole wide, wide, wide world of sports. We will all see you again in the baseball dugout in the sky.
El mole rachamim shochen bamromim hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina b'malot kedoshim utehorim anabal harachamim hastirehu b'seiter knafecha liolamim utzror b'tzrocha mit nishmato Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuch b'shalom amishkavo, v'nomar amen. May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that he performed while in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. God is now his portion. May he rest in peace. And we all say amen. Let's be seated, everybody. We want to offer our condolences to the family, to Carolyn, to Seth and Todd, Darren, Elisa, Ethan, Flynn, Ellie, and Sarah. We want to make note of the fact that we are going to pause the service at this point. We're going to arrange the processional to the burial spot at Lakeview Cemetery. We're going to arrange that processional immediately following this service. And we're going to ask that everybody remain in their seats, but the pallbearers should now come forward.
Come alongside the casket, please. Facing forward. I'll let you know when it's time.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai mi'agur v'yahalecha mi'ishkan b'har kadshecha. Holech tamim u'poel tzedek v'dover emet zovavo. Lo ragal al lishono, lo asel rehu ra'ah, v'tor halun asal tzavo. Mizavi navu navu yireh ha'yireh ha'yireh, v'yishar v'harar ha'yamir. Go into the cemetery,
Oh my God!
Thank you.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! What just happened? What just happened? Oh my God!